We also have a strong design tradition in Denmark, as you know. And my son, for example, he had his first design class in the 3rd grade. I didn't even know they did this, you know. It was my first kid. So he comes home, Daddy, we had design this week. You had design? Yeah, we had to design something that was practical, elegant, and yet functional. So he made like a beer can holder out of cardboard, and he said, I made it for you. I'm going, cool, you know. But they actually had all this design principles in the 3rd grade. Now, it's interesting to consider how this has perhaps influenced the Danish bicycle infrastructure network. Here are the 4 types of bicycle infrastructure in the country in one easy infographic. There's none because it's a low speed. The speeds increase, car volume increases, then you have a painted lane, but often you will separate completely physically from the traffic. If you're out on the highways where the speed limits hit 70 or higher, you get the cyclists away from the traffic on separated infrastructure, far away as possible, but still giving them the right A to B in the desire line. Simple, effective, proven, safe, and easy for wayfinding. You go to Denmark, you put your bike on the train, you go to another Danish city that you can't even pronounce and you've never heard of, you'll get off the train with your bike and you will find the same infrastructure and it will take you somewhere that you need to go. And it'll do so safely. This is it wasn't Danish design when they designed it, but it ended up being so. Simple and efficient. Design can help. Human observation and using basic design principles, these are a way forward to modernizing and revitalizing our tired, old, car-centric cities. There's the whole big picture of design, but then there's also the beauty in the details. And I love stuff like this, wandering around my city and discovering things like this. On the top left, there's a ramp here. This is a bit of a missing link in our infrastructure. So the people have to cycle down here, come around to get to the harbor. Somebody at some point went down, there wasn't a ramp there. Somebody on a bike sort of went, I'm not going to keep going 100 meters farther down. I can just go here. And then somebody else sort of saw bike tracks. I can do that. And then a pathway, a desire line was carved on this spot. And the city of Copenhagen, to their credit, this doesn't fit into their design guidelines. They just went, oh, and they put in a ramp, you know, and just a small ramp, nothing too fancy. You don't think, you know, you should do it every day, but if you're going to do it, here's a ramp. And, you know, this is a manhole. I'm not an expert in manholes, but they're usually flat, okay? But this was a new street by the university, and it angles up to the curb. It provides a ramp to the curb. Somebody, the architect or the man in the overalls with the big beer belly called Jens, you know, somebody made that decision. And I'm actually looking for this person in the city of Copenhagen. It's proving difficult, but somebody said, well, there's bike racks over there. We'll just angle the manhole. Let's just do that. It was like a human designing for a human. And I really wanted to be this big guy called Jens, you know, when I finally find him and buy him a beer. In a backyard in Copenhagen, this is all offices in here. And there's a little curb, and it's not a big curb. You can easily hop up the curb when you're going to work there. Somebody put in that little ramp. Somebody walked out and said, there should be a ramp. Zzz, zzz. All right, see you later. And nobody knows who it was. I've asked, and I sat in there one morning watching all the people arriving. They come through the backyard, and they aim for the little ramp. Boop, and when they leave, they aim for the little ramp. It's completely, you know, useless, but it's anonymous user-generated design, and it's a fantastic little detail on the urban landscape. The city of Copenhagen, on the left there, they have put in railings and footrests for cyclists at 18 different intersections. What's the most irritating thing about riding a bike is actually having to hop off the saddle, you know, waiting for a red light, stopping your momentum. So here, the city provides the handrails or the footrest, and on the footrest it says, hi cyclist, rest your foot here, and thank you for cycling in the city. You know, we think that people who cycle in our city are doing quite a good thing, so we like to thank them for it. We like to spoil them. We have some prototypes that we did ourselves. We put up garbage cans hanging up on busy cycle tracks, just to see if people would use them, and also to see, to sort through their garbage. What do cyclists throw out on their rides? It's the same thing as pedestrians. It's coffee cups, it's cigarette packs, it's banana peels, it's apple cores. But anyway, that was a fantastic little experiment. The one at the bottom, we did. We made these little love handles, we call them, the Copenhagenized love handles. We put them up at stoplights, the stop lines here, so cyclists on all of the posts by the stop line, the metal is rubbed smooth right at one spot, like Buddha's tummy, and somebody will always, the first person will always lean up against that because they don't want to get off their bike and wait, and then they'll push themselves into motion. So we made it really convenient for them with these love handles, and we had a guy out filming the whole week, and people didn't notice them at first, and then people started, riding up in the morning the hell is that? You know, we had a little sign sort of saying what it was, and then people started to use them. And by like, after 4 days, it was like a race to get to it. You know, if you come to the red light, I want to get there first, you know. And sitting there waiting, and then we didn't even realize that people would use it to propel themselves into motion. So this was like an added value to the product. You know, people were like, yeah. Some guys were like rocking back and forth, and then, you know, off they went. So this is a great little experience. Again, humans designing for humans. This is like a product that we have at the moment. We're Lego country, right? So we have developed this clickable, temporary cycle track. So there's cities who are skeptical. Oh, we know we need a Copenhagen-style cycle track separated from the traffic, but it's a big investment to, you know, and I'm a skeptical politician, I'm a skeptical engineer. So here we have this cycle track that you just put into place. You do 1 kilometer in a day. You lift it, grab it, place it, click it. There's like, even kids can do it. And then you create a physically separated cycle track. You do a pilot project for a few months. We gather all the data and show you that it works. At the end, the city will say, ah, it worked. And we'll say, ah, I told you so. And then they hopefully will be inspired by this proof of concept to build permanent infrastructure based on best practice in Denmark and the Netherlands. So again, simple solutions are the key. So design, human observation, all of these things are incredibly important, but it is also important to listen to the thoughts and observations of the greatest minds in the field. People like Lulu Sofia. She just turned 6. This is my daughter. She turned 6 last week. And I've been recording her urban observations for about 3 years now, and she has these brilliant nuggets of wisdom. And it all started one day. We're on our cargo bike going to the hardware store, and we're just riding along, and we stopped at a red light, and she looked over at the car lane, and she says, Daddy, look, oh, it's a motorcycle with 2 people on it. She was absolutely amazed. She was 3.5. She didn't even consider the fact that 2 people could be on a motorbike. So she was like, oh, wow. And I said, well, cool. Then maybe they're friends. You know, they're riding a motorbike together and talking, and it's nice. Look at you and me. We're friends. We're 2 people on a bike. We're talking and we're having a nice time. Yeah. Oh, she was absolutely amazed. Okay. So we went on and stopped at a red light further along, and I realized in retrospect that she had been intensely observing her urban theater, looking for other examples of 2 people doing this or 2 people doing, oh, there's 2 pedestrians, okay. Oh, there's a bus, there's a whole bunch of people, that's fine. And then we got to the next light and she says, Daddy, again, my kids don't spend much time in cars, so they come at this very pure. She said, Daddy, cars are silly. And I said, oh, okay, well, why are cars silly? She said, because you can't see the people in them. She couldn't see if there was 1, 2, or 3 people inside these cars. And a 3.5-year-old nails it on the head. You know, the anonymity of car culture, the social exclusion of automobile society. And it was a simple but brilliant observation. And it was very inspirational as well. Now, she has a constant repertoire of these little urbanist nuggets of wisdom. But a couple of months ago, late last year, she took it to the next level. We're walking around our city, and we're stopping at the red light and waiting, and she just says, out of the blue, she says, Daddy, when will my city fit me? You know, and I thought, wow, great observation. You know, you're this big, you know, so garbage cans are like basketball hoops for you. You know, you walk around looking at people's asses all day long when you're that, you know. We forget about kids, man, they're short, you know. And cities, you know, the buildings are like canyons. She says, my city, when will my city fit me? And I said, you know what, you'll grow, eat your vegetables, grow, and you're going to get bigger. And she went, yeah, I kind of knew that, but yeah, okay. But she was just like, she felt out of scale on her urban landscape. And that really made me think. And I started to think, where does my city fit me? You know, in Copenhagen, I can ride along the world's busiest bicycle street on cycle tracks 5 meters wide on each side of the street, a little narrow car lane for cars, wide sidewalks. I feel like my city fits me there. There's other spots where I don't think it does. Hans Christian Andersen Boulevard, 8-lane, kind of the busiest road in all of Denmark, carving through the heart of the city. Political and engineering arrogance that it just, you know, wipes right through the city. And I have a wide cycle track, but I don't feel like my city fits me there. In the medieval city center, like in every medieval city center, yes, they were designed to fit people, designed so that people felt at scale with the city. But Lulu inspired a whole new way of thinking for me, but also for our company. At our meetings when we're doing our projects, we'll say, okay, wait a minute, is this a life-size city? Are we on the right track for the life-size city? And this has sort of become sort of a slogan that we use at our office and a way of thinking. And it all came from, you know, from a 3.5-year-old, basically. Well, now she's 5. Now she's 6. Sorry, you know kids. God, they keep growing. So you met Felix already. Last year, I thought it would be interesting to get his third grade class to redesign the roundabout by their school. A roundabout they use every day, several times a day, a really badly engineered roundabout. There's cycle tracks, yes, but it's still very badly engineered, even for Copenhagen. So I went into the classroom, and I said, right, there's a thing called urban planning. Never mind that. Listen, I want you to go out and I want you to redesign this roundabout, make it more bicycle friendly, make it more pedestrian friendly, and while you're in the process, try and get some ideas about how people could get out of their cars and use other forms of transport. See you later. Boom. And I left. I didn't want to fill their minds with too much complicated and boring, academic shit about urban planning. I just said, do this. And they divided up into teams. They went out to the roundabout. They did site visits and did drawings and discussed it with a passion that many of us could be well served to rediscover this enthusiasm for their city. And they came up with fantastic solutions. I can't remember if that slide is in there. No, it isn't. Okay. And it was a joy to watch. And they did a huge model of the intersection as well in cardboard. And some of their ideas, without knowing anything about it, were, we think the speed limit should be 15 kilometers per hour. How do you know that? Like, where did that come from? I don't know, it just seemed kind of slow, and we thought that's a good idea, which it is. Around a school, 15K is brilliant in that congestion in the morning. One of the kids says, why don't we just make cars uglier, then nobody will want to buy them. That was actually, but it's logical, isn't it? It's rational. They wanted a fence between the cycle track and the road, probably not necessary even in Copenhagen, but one-way streets for cars, speed bumps, one-way, all these different solutions that are in place in really livable cities. And these third graders figured it out for themselves. I found that fascinating. Their one idea was also that they wanted glass roofs over all the streets of the entire neighborhood so they never got wet in the rain or the snow ever again. And I can understand that, but that one's a bit crazy. But as we speak right now, if you talk about this child logic and rationality, there's cities in the Netherlands testing rain sensors on their traffic lights. So when it's raining or snowing or the temperature gets too cold, the cyclists are prioritized 3 to 4 times extra light cycles for these pedestrians, for the cyclists. And the cars, sitting in a nice warm car, they wait a bit longer, getting the people home in the rain and through the snow. This is simple and logical. It's the same concept as the glass roofs. In Copenhagen now we have many arteries with the green wave. 20 kilometers per hour on your bicycle and you will hit green all the way into the city in the morning rush hour and all the way home again. The same kind of logic as putting glass roofs over all the city streets, and cheaper than the glass roofs as well. So their work was based, these kids, their work was based on rationality, logic, human experience, desire lines as well, and human need. Right from the heart of their very rational child minds. Oh, I'm teasing you there, sorry. So, children are the future, of course, but I've realized that that adopting their pure rational thought can very well be the future of planning in our cities. Thinking like this frees our minds, and it provides us, more importantly, with a way out of the matrix that we've been in for the last 100 years. Last but not least, I want to introduce you to a guy named William. And William is a major influence on the way that we work and the way that I think at our company. And he comes into the conversation several times a week when we're discussing our projects. He helps us cut through the crap and find the core in everything that we're doing. He's one of the greatest bicycle and pedestrian planners in history. But he doesn't know that, unfortunately, because he died in 1347. Now, this is William of Ockham. And the principle called Occam's razor is attributed to him. It's used a lot in mathematics and science, but it's really brilliant, I've discovered, when applied to urban planning and planning livable cities. Simply put, Occam's razor says that the simplest solution is probably the best one. If you choose the most simple solution out of all the ones on your table, you have probably chosen the best one. And it gives you fantastic clarity in all aspects of life, but especially urban planning. So all of this begs the question, what would our streets look like if our main consultants were 5-year-olds, 3rd graders, teams of young design students, and some 13th century religious guy? What if these were the main people that we listen to? I think our streets would be brilliant. I think they would be safer than they are today, more importantly. They would work just as well as they're working today. And really, if we're talking about the numbers at the beginning of the talk, reducing loss of life and injury, they would be safer than at any single point in the last 75, 100 years. And that's something to consider. We have the tools available to us. And I think it's just time to be rational once again. I'm going to skip this one because hopefully in this room everybody knows why we should be promoting bicycle traffic, why the bicyclist transport is important. Oh no, I'm going to tell you anyway because I like some statistics. We found out in Copenhagen that 36% of the population who ride bicycles to work or their place of education every day contribute 233 million euros to the public coffers, to the public in health savings. 233 million euros just because a bunch of people ride their bikes, at 16 kilometers per hour, listening to their iPods or whatever, right? This isn't fitness. That's a whole other thing. This is just people riding their bikes to work. The other study, which is interesting from Denmark, is that for every kilometer cycled, we take 23 cents and we put it in our pocket. It was like just free money. People are just the citizens are throwing their money at us because they're riding their bikes. For every kilometer driven by car, we take 16 cents and we just throw it into a big black hole. We never see that money again. A big pothole probably in some road. For driving cars is simply not cost efficient. Without being the whole eco freak and all that, I'm just saying if you're looking at cities and the way we're planning them, cost efficiency should be a major factor in the way that we plan our cities. And when you look at numbers like this, it doesn't really make sense to put so much money into the one that you're going to lose the money, and maybe putting it into public transport and bicycles it just makes kind of more sense from an economic perspective. The other thing is it's incredibly modern. This is what cities are doing all around the world. It's not about Amsterdam or Copenhagen anymore. These are the benchmark cities, the Romulus and Remus of bicycle culture. But we do the Copenhagenized Index every 2 years. We rank the world's most bicycle-friendly cities. Look at some of the names of those cities on there: Bordeaux, Paris, Seville, Dublin, Barcelona, Budapest. I can tell you there were no bicycles left in those cities 5-6 years ago. I'm talking no bicycles at all. Maybe Bordeaux had maybe 2%, but the rest of them, they were gone. Now, these are incredibly bicycle-friendly cities. The things that they are doing is absolutely brilliant. And when you have the mayor of Paris, Bertrand Delanoë, saying things like that, the fact is that automobiles no longer have a place in the big cities of our time. This is the mayor of Paris, not the mayor of an unpronounceable Danish town. This is the mayor of Paris saying stuff like that. The mayor of New York is saying the same kind of things over the last year. When you have a reason to be optimistic about the future of our cities when you have people like that, looking at our cities and trying to change the paradigm. So you come to Copenhagen, and see what we're doing and see how it's done in a very efficient way and great design, but you have to go to these other cities. Seville went from 0 bikes, nobody on bikes, to 7% in just 5 years. The modal share, your goal is 3% in all of Luxembourg in a few years. They went from 0 to 7 in 5. So feel embarrassed, to be honest. I'm sorry, seriously. Buenos Aires, there's one street they've put in 140 kilometers of cycle tracks, separating them from the traffic always. There's one stretch in Buenos Aires now that has 5,000 cyclists a day, and 5 years ago it was one guy named Juan. And this is like it's a race now to modernize our cities, and the bicycle is at the forefront of the charge. So I really hope you do feel embarrassed, with all respect, when you look at what other cities are doing. At the end of the day, really though, it's not about the bicycle. It's not about sustainability, mobility, intermodality, all of this vocabulary of words, which is really just confusing to regular citizens. It's not about traffic calming. The main monument in Copenhagen, I think that it's kind of ridiculous for, it's this little naked green woman sitting on a rock. Right? And for 100, she just turned 100, and for 100 years, tourists have said the same 4 words, but she's so small. Yeah. And I actually said a few years ago, she's life-size, okay? She's not small, she's just life-size, right? But basically, she's kind of embarrassing as a monument for Copenhagen, I think, personally. Sorry, Ambassador. And I think that the greatest monument that we have ever erected in Denmark in the history of the Danish nation is the bicycle infrastructure network in Copenhagen and other Danish cities. This is a human monument, a human-powered monument, something that everybody who uses it every single day contributes to. They're all the designers and the architects of this monument. And everybody in this room can also contribute to erecting monuments, where you live as well. This is the future. This is how we should look at it. It's not just putting in a cycle track and getting some data. It's really letting these monuments rise all over the world. And they're rising in Paris and Barcelona and Buenos Aires. There is a new paradigm And it's time to really consider the future of our cities, the next 100 years, because the last 100 years didn't go so well. I'd like to leave you with this quote. It's one of my favorite quotes about cities. Cities are erected on spiritual columns. Like giant mirrors, they reflect the hearts of their residents. If those hearts darken and lose faith, cities will lose their glamour. This is a 900-year-old quote, more true today than ever before. I just hope everybody in this room, at some point in the future, the near future, can contribute in some way towards building the modern monuments in our cities. Thank you.